use Goldberg.
Giving you the real from A to Z surrounding the Dallas Cowboys. News, updates, rumors, transactions, takes, and more. So strap up, Cowboys Nation, and start your day off with A to Z Sports. Live with Will Steele.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go. Goldberg. Goldberg. Good morning to my good people of A to Z Sports. Welcome to A to Z Sports Live, presented by Texas Family Fitness, streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. I am your host, Will Skywalker Steele. Oh yeah. As you can see, today's episode, we are going to be talking about who is potentially next, or as Goldberg will say, who's next to get extended. This happens often in Dallas. We kind of briefly touched on it yesterday, and it made me dive into it a little bit more, and I'm like, something could be in the works. So we're going to decipher that. I'm going to work through it with you guys. We'll talk about the 2019 draft class and see if someone is worthy there, and then a potential undrafted guy to see who's worthy. And I'll give you my most important potential extension. Most important. Yes, sir. Yeah, for those who don't know who that random guy, bald guy is in the spear technique looking, crouching down, that is Bill Goldberg, WWE. As you guys know, I'm a WWF fan, and his famous line was, "Who's next?" So I thought that was fitting for today's show because somebody could potentially be next. That's how the Cowboys work. That's how they do it. Let's get into the chat, though. Get you guys some shout-outs. Primetime Phil. He said, last time I liked Skywalker early, turned to the dark side. Tom Downey Burner account. Professor O in the building. Fresh Fade. My lady. 2/22/22 on a Tuesday. She couldn't wait to say that. Huh? She couldn't wait to say that. Austin Atwood over on Facebook. Alpha Mason. Lauren Glenn. Primetime Phil, like I said. Miss Sheila. Adam Mack, Charles Shepard, Jeremy Parker M, Domino T Mac, Oscar Sullivan, TC915, Sully, Junior Rios, Mel Hayes in the building. I said Junior already, Captain America, and CJ Richards. So yeah, Oscar, that is Bill Goldberg. Yes, University of Georgia alum. You know, I'd take any one of those Georgia guys on this team. Maybe Bill can go talk to some of them. Say, you know, do what you got to do to get drafted to Dallas. And I'm talking about any of them. I'm going to be honest with you. I like all those Georgia guys. So if you've never seen Goldberg, just Google him. Google him. Y'all know me. I always try to tie in either Marvel or wrestling or something into the Cowboys when we do our thing. So if you're confused, just go search it, man. And Professor O, shout out to Professor O. He says, go Dogs. He is a Georgia fan. They got the dub. I was hoping, Professor O, you and who was it? Patrick Walker would get that trifecta going, right? The Braves won the World Series. The Dogs won the national championship. Cowboys were supposed to hold it down, man. They were supposed to hold it down. What's up, bro? Tariq, Hollywood, and who else just came up in the building? Will Anthony, Roderick Tharps. Appreciate you guys jumping into the early morning show. And all those who are on the notification squad. If you're not, you need to subscribe and you need to click that notification bell so that you guys know when we are going live and when we drop any videos, etc., etc. All right, with that said, guys, we'll jump into today's roundup, and then coming out of that, we'll go into the meat and potatoes of deciphering who may get extended. Listen, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. A little biased on this one, a little bit biased, but I think for good reasons. So we'll get into that a little bit later.
Look at them, it's about that time.
It's time! It's time! It's time! It's time!
Time. It's time. It is time for.
It's time for the morning roundup. Round 'em up, boys.
Yes, indeed. Tom. This is the morning roundup presented by Texas Family Fitness. Strive for progress, not perfection. Fitness goals not accomplished with one workout. Progress towards your goals with Texas Family Fitness. A solution for your fitness goals. Check out any of the 9 locations in the DFW area or visit TexasFamilyFitness.com. Can I get to this super chat real quick before? Tom said, you're silly, man.
Super chat.
Oh, he says, Sky, the last time Dallas won, Goldberg was in the WCW. Oh, that's, damn. Just aged me and everything. All right, listen, Cowboys lose I don't know if it's important coach or not, but they did lose a coach, a special teams assistant coach to John Fossil. His name is Matt Daniels. He's been with John Fossil for, I believe, the last 4 or so years. This is per Michael Gelkin. Matt Daniels has been a trusted assistant for Cowboys special teams coordinator John Fossil the past 4 seasons, dating back to their time together with the Rams. Bigger opportunity seemed a matter of time. Fossil said in December, hopefully he'll be a coordinator for us here in the future. The Vikings snatched up Matt Daniels, and he'll be their special teams coordinator. So, looks like Fossil's going to be the lone man, I guess. It's not like anybody checked John Fossil anyway. And again, I'm okay with John Fossil. Sometimes he does some things, but I get it. That's who he is. Just like in 2020, I had to get used to going for it more because that's not what we were doing. Under Jason Garrett, I also had to get used to John Fossil being John Fossil. And I do think his presence here in Dallas has been a plus. The special teams units have both finished in the top half of the league, and I want to say top 10 over the last 2 seasons. Blocked the most punts last year. I think we got a return touchdown this year. So, yeah, I'm good with John Fossil, y'all. He can get on my nerves sometimes. He can piss me off, but I understand there's a method to his madness. So, salute to Matt Daniels for getting the opportunity to be a coordinator in this league. That's usually where it starts as you start to move up in the coaching ranks. So, don't know who will take his place. Maybe they should call my guy Philip Tanner. PT Philip Tanner, for those who remember, the 3rd string running back for the Cowboys, who I think his best game was against, I want to say the Ravens that year. He was a special teams assistant under Jason Garrett for a few years. So maybe they reach back out to him if he's interested in it. And then today, ladies and gentlemen, the franchise tag window is open. That's right. It's open, I believe, from today until March 8th. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's why I got y'all here. I think they have till that time to decide who to tag across the league. I mean, there's guys like Devontae Adams who will probably get tagged. Some safeties out there. Jesse Bates from the Bengals, I think, will get tagged. In Dallas, though, I don't know yet. But the Cowboys have been down this road, right? They've been down this road with Dak. They've been down this road with Tank. And before those guys, it was Anthony Spencer, who was tagged twice, believe it or not. But this year, I don't think there is a guy. But if there was a guy, if there was a guy worthy, or if there were players worthy, it's probably 2 or 3 guys. And you're talking about Randy Gregory and Dalton Schultz. Only problem is, for those who aren't familiar with the franchise tag, they pay you something like the top, 5 or 10% of the is it top 5? 5 or 10% of the highest paid players in the league. So for tight ends, that franchise tag is $11 million. I can't see it. I just can't see that one, and I'm thinking I'm operating under Catboy, right? I'm operating under Stephen Jones's mind frame. I can't see him doing that. And then for defensive ends, it's about $20 million, apparently, roughly around that $20 million. That's not happening. And remember with franchise tags, ladies and gentlemen, that counts all towards your cap that year. So unlike an extension, like if they wanted to sign Dalton Schultz to a 4-year, $60 million deal or whatever, right? They could technically lower that first year cap hit all the way down to nothing, to pennies. So you can't do that under the franchise tag. So I don't see a franchise tag worthy player this year. And it's not because Schultz or Gregory aren't good. It's just that the money that it's going to take to allocate towards them under the circumstances right now, you still have Tank, right? The tight end free agent class is loaded. I think you can get a good tight end in draft around the mid rounds as well. I just really don't see it. And then, of course, there is also the possibility of franchise tagging Michael Gallup, which I wouldn't do that either. I believe the wide receiver franchise tag is around 18 million or so. So I would say no. I would say absolutely not on Michael Gallup. Hell, I'm good moving on if it's going to cost more than a team-friendly deal, period. So hell no, I'm not trying to do an $18 million franchise tag. If they wanted to keep Michael Gallup around, they could have did that last year, right? And what I mean is not franchise tag. I'm talking about they could have extended him. All right, we're getting into deciphering who gets extended. Michael Gallup was a candidate last year. The 2018 class was a candidate. And again, we touched on this briefly yesterday with Tony Pollard, and we'll get back to him, and Terrence, and we'll get back to him as well. But that made me go into the lab after the show yesterday, and I said, well, let me dig a little bit deeper on this, because we were just talking as we do here, right? We talked about the Cowboys likely making a mistake with the Dalton Schultz contract and Blake Jarwin. There's no doubt about it. They likely should have extended should have extended Dalton Schultz, not Blake Jarwin, but here we are. Fortunately for Dallas, they're in a position where they can get a really good tight end, I think, in the open market and replace his production. I truly believe that. But I would have definitely loved to have Schultz on a Jarwin deal right now. Jarwin's deal is nothing. He's making like $4 or $5 million a year. I could live with that. I can't live with $12 million for a guy who's going to be a byproduct of the offense, not a feature of the offense. But Dallas usually, and I said this yesterday, and I was actually wrong, they usually sign guys to an extension early. They've done it in the past, and I went all the way back to the Barry Churches and the Cole Beasleys, which I'll show this graphic in a minute. But when you dug deeper, they actually did that recently too. They did that some odd years ago. And let me just bring up that graphic real quick. This is actually the 2019 class, which we'll get to. But these are some of the notable players that were extended over the last decade or so. And yesterday we talked about Orlando Scandrick. He was a 5th-round pick. He was extended early before. And remember, guys, an extension is not a player's contract running out and they're free agents and you sign them. No, they're still under contract, and the Cowboys got out in front of it. That's the extension part. Orlando Scandrick was one. Obviously, Tyron Smith. Cole Beasley was another one. They got him for a cheap deal. Barry Church was one of the more famous ones because they got him really cheap. And Barry said, they had me, He often talks about that deal. Probably your best starter that wasn't a high-end draft pick that was extended early. Obviously, La'el Collins, another one, which we'll get to. Zach Martin, Jalen Smith, and Ezekiel Elliott. Those are some of the guys that were extended early by the Cowboys for decent contracts or really big contracts. Now, the stars next to those players are either undrafted free agents or low-round draft picks. That's really where Dallas can hit it. And that's really where they have hit it. If you look at Scandrick's contract, never was a big deal because they got out in front of it and didn't cost much. It was a 5th-round pick. Cole Beasley's contract was never a big deal. Barry Church's contract was never a big deal. La'el's extension was never a big deal. And hell, I'd argue now his contract's not a big deal. His contract is easy. It's not that high, and it's easy to get out of. So I think those were your best value ones. And then Tyron Smith is an all-time contract, period. All time. He signed like a forever deal. he'll never be a top 5 paid tackle anymore under this current deal. Just a phenomenal contract. But if you want to get on the downside of these extensions, you're talking about Jalen Smith and you're talking about Ezekiel Elliott. We understand the Jalen Smith one. Right? He's gone. They tried to get out in front of that one. I thought that was a mistake. And some of these worked out. Some of these didn't. The Jalen Smith one did not work out. They were kind of on a good track record with these, and it didn't. Zeke is working out better than Jalen's, but that's going to come to a head next year. They're going to make a decision next year on Ezekiel Elliott, and if he has a similar season as he had this past year with dealing with injuries, I don't think he'll be on the team because that's just how these guys operate. And at that running back position, I don't think you're going to keep him around when you can get a fresher guy, a younger guy, and keep rocking. We've seen that across the league. So keep an eye on Ezekiel Elliott's contract next year. But those two, you can kind of argue, I hate to say didn't work out with Zeke because he's still a productively good player. But you can kind of see his career on the downtrend injury-wise, right? On the downtrend injury-wise. Mel said at the time, I thought Jalen's deal was a good thing. Shows what I know. No, Mel, you ain't the only one, man. I think we all thought getting out in front of Jalen's deal would be good because we had high hopes for Jalen after the 2018 year. And it is hindsight, right? I'm not gonna sugarcoat this thing. I'm not gonna fake the funk. At the time, I was excited about the potential of Jalen in LVE, and that's just one of those things where it was wrong. If we're going to look at hindsight, maybe they should have waited one more year, knowing that they were dealing with Jalen Smith's knee situation, drop foot, right? Like 2017 wasn't a great year for Jalen. It was hey man, awesome. You're back out there playing football and we think you can go somewhere. It was 2018 that said, whoa, is this the Jalen we're going to get? And I think the Joneses said, let's get out in front of this just in case. Hindsight says you should have waited one more year because in 2019, you kind of saw like a different Jalen Smith. And then the rest is history. So, but look at the track record, though. Look at this track record. This is not a bad track record. And yesterday we had briefly talked about the 2017 class and the 2018. Those are the only two classes you could have potentially did an extension with. 2017, 2018. There really wasn't anybody in those classes. Now, technically, they did sign Jordan Lewis to a 3-year deal after his deal ended. They could have jumped the gun on J. Lou, but they didn't, and they still got him for fairly cheap. But you're talking about Cheeto. They weren't comfortable with that. J. Lou, they didn't do it. Taco's not even here. I can't remember the rest of that draft class, but there really wasn't many worthy. 2018, we just did a whole entire 2-3 weeks on the 2018 draft class. They could have jumped out in front of Schultz. That's the one. They could have jumped out in front of Michael Gallup, but I think they didn't do that because they drafted CeeDee Lamb. Now, there's this report, though, that came out that said Michael Gallup is a priority, but I wonder if that's because Michael Gallup got hurt. Because other than that, it makes no sense. Like, why would you make your third wide receiver a priority over a guy like Jaron Kearse, over a guy like Randy Gregory? So I'm not really buying the priority thing unless it's like, hey, he got hurt, and that's a flashing red sign for Stephen Jones. Hurt guy, ACL, right side of 30, got some talent. We can get him for cheap. Oh yeah, priority. That's the only way I can see it being a priority. Other than that, if Gallup is truly going to bet on himself and try to get upwards of 12 to 15 million or more, not happening in Dallas. Not happening in Dallas. So 2017 didn't do it. 2018 class didn't do it. The next class that is eligible for extensions, Cowboys Nation, is the 2019 class. And that's what we're going to get to here in a second. Let me get into some of the chat, see what you guys have to say about some of these things here. What's up, the Lunatic? Long time no see, brother. Hope all is well with you. He said Jerry tried to be an astute businessman during the Zeke holdout by extending Jalen early. That's the other thing, right? Like, politics probably played probably played a role in that Jalen Smith extension. Remember, Zeke was holding out at that time, if I'm not mistaken, y'all, right? Zeke was holding out, and I think they signed Lyle to his second contract, third contract, really, at that time, too. So it's like, hey, look, that's where the whole pie thing came from. Well, we signed Jalen Smith. We signed Lyle Collins. Piece of the pie, yada, yada, yada. And thinking that it would pressure Ezekiel Elliott to come in. Now, if you want to talk about, I see B. Bird said, I didn't like the Jalen deal. The one that made me say, man, this one cringe was the Ezekiel Elliott deal, because you did not have to sign him 2 years prior. Jalen had 1 year left. Zeke had 2 at the running back position. You could have let that thing run. You don't want to come in, cool. Well, do you like, whatever. But that's the one that made me say, are they losing it? And we haven't seen one since, if I'm not mistaken. We haven't seen one since. Maybe they're spooked. Steven says, come on, Zeke is washed. We all know it. The potential dead money on his contract is the only thing keeping him in the fold. That could be, it's really hard to call him washed, seeing what I saw the first 6 weeks. But I will agree. I don't think Zeke is the young Zeke, and I think it's because of the toll that the running back position takes on you. And I do think you're probably right about the dead money, keeping him here, because they got rid of Dez, they got rid of DeMarcus, they got rid of Jalen last year. So Zeke is probably more. Nah, I ain't gonna say that, but Zeke could be part of that group if his dead money was a little bit less. So you could be right, but that's why I said watch out for it next year. Next year would be the one. Sully says the main problem is they think everyone's going to take a hometown discount. They think that. And that's where Stephen Jones gets taken behind the shed and whooped. Because I'll give him props for being cheap. I'll give him props for being frugal or whatever. But when it comes to actually getting these long-term deals done, I can't really clap it up for him. Because he always gets got. Think about it. DeMarcus Lawrence could have been signed prior. You franchise tagged him twice, which made his contract where it's at. Dak Prescott could have been signed earlier. You franchise tagged him. That whole situation. Now we're at where we're at with his contract. Ezekiel Elliott, you didn't have to do that. You could have waited. So I think when I look at this list right here, prior to that Zeke deal, I was actually like, hey, man, Stephen Jones and these guys are getting out ahead of these contracts. And it's a smart business. Smart business. But now I think he's too far left when it comes to the cheapness, number one. And then I don't know that he knows what the hell he's doing when it comes to these big deal contracts. I don't. Tyron Smith, I'll give him that one. Zach Martin, Tyron Smith, I think we're easy, right? Zach Martin, Tyron Smith. Who else was it? Travis Frederick. Those guys weren't going to really break your pockets like a defensive end would. Defensive end is now Tyron could have, but he signed in 2014, I think it was, a 10-year deal. So that, again, just one of those deals where you look at it like the Herschel Walker trade. Like, you'll never see that again. You'll never see a Tyron Smith contract ever. The NFLPA probably was pissed Tyron made that deal, but you'll never see that again. So let's take a look, a gander at the 2019 draft class, because that is the next one up. Those are the guys that have potential to be extended. And first up is Tristan Hill, who, listen, y'all, we all know Tristan Hill's story here in Dallas. I'm going to just go ahead and say it, because there's a lot of people that really want to hold on to this, but it is what it is. If there's a such thing as a second-round bust, Tristan Hill's a second-round bust. I don't care what you want to call it. I don't care if you want to say, oh, he was overdrafted, or, oh, Rob Merritt, whatever, man. Whatever. He's a second-round bust. There's not a chance. And, oh, by the way, because this is the question that's going to come out, would you extend Tristan Hill? I would not. I let him play, and I let him play his contract out this year, but there's no way I'm re-signing this guy. And this, again, maybe he'll go somewhere else and he'll flourish, but he ain't doing it here. I mean, the dude can barely play. 7 games his rookie year, 5 games in 2020, and 6 games in 2021. And I understand he tore his ACL. I get it, you know, and I'm not trying to be a hard ass on him, but at the end of the day, you've played 18 total games in 3 seasons, and you've never, ever been an impact player in those 18 games. I'm not saying you haven't, like for instance, the Raiders game last year. Pretty solid game. Like, you know, showed some good stuff. But that's the thing with Tristan. He'll show something, and then you'll be like, oh, yeah, that's right. Tristan Hill did play. Talking about a guy that has 0 full sacks for his career. 17 total individual tackles in 3 years. I mean, I'm sorry, man. I root for Tristan because maybe he was drafted too early. Maybe he was put in the doghouse early. But you went out and got Osa. You went out and you drafted Neville Gallimore in back-to-back years. That told me everything I needed to know about Tristan Hill. They're not sold on a kid.
Super chat.
Shout out to B Bird for the $5 donation. He says, Jerry signed Jalen to validate Jerry for picking him. That could be too. Notice that JJ has all the patience with players and coaches that he takes a gamble on. Ego. Yeah. That's why they we call them because they didn't say that in there. Jerry guys. Jalen was a Jerry guy, but they kind of got rid of him pretty fast. So they realized their mistake and got rid of him. But Tristan Hill, I would say a second-round bust. I feel you, Mel. Second-round bust on Tristan, not re-signing him. Then you got Connor McGovern, drafted in the 3rd round of that draft class. Ironically, here's the funny thing. Connor McGovern apparently was rated higher on their board than Tristan Hill. But Rod Marinelli was in love with Tristan Hill. And I didn't even get to the point about not taking a Taylor Rapp or Juan Thornhill or any of Adderley, any of those other safeties that Dallas could have used. They took Tristan. But Connor McGovern was rated higher than Tristan Hill, and they took him in the 3rd round. Now, I wouldn't call Connor a bust at all. I would say that Connor McGovern has basically been about what a 3rd rounder could be, and that's a role player early on that can get some starts. And that's what he's had. I mean, he started 14 games in 2 seasons, believe it or not. And I don't think McGovern was particularly bad in either of those years. I think he's young, growing guard. I wouldn't say he was spectacular, but I think he was serviceable with his warts. That's where I would put Connor McGovern, a serviceable utility backup with room to grow still. Remember, in 2019, he redshirted, so it counts, but it doesn't at the same time in regards to his statistics and things like that. But it counts on the book, so he is eligible for an extension. So, would you extend Connor McGovern? Now, I just praised Connor, but I would not. I would let this one run its course, see what happens after 2022, and we'll revisit that. We'll revisit Connor. You know, I talked about this when we were talking about Connor Williams. I said I wouldn't go out and sign a veteran guard because I feel like I have my swing guard, or veteran technically, swing guard in town. Like, I don't need to go spend $5 million on a quality veteran guard when I have mine here in Connor McGovern. So, he does provide some positive play, I think, as a role player. I don't know. I ain't ready for him to be the starter just yet. He can compete for it. Third season start, potentially 3rd season starting, but he could compete for it. I'm just kind of want to go draft one, right? And he can be my backup guy. So I wouldn't extend him. That doesn't mean I don't like him. That just means I wouldn't extend him. What you guys got to say? Brandon says, I'm fine with keeping McGovern. Serviceable backups, I feel. Carson says, no extension. Austin says, cheap, yes. Iceberg, nah. Primetime says, not if we can get O-line in the draft. That's how I feel. B. Bird says, McGovern resign. Well, it will be an extension more than a resign. He's not free yet, so you're talking about extending him there. Depends on the money, David. I would start giving him center reps. I think they were working him at center, right? I wonder what happened there. Will says McGovern is extended on backup money. So that's the thing, right? What kind of money we talking about? We're talking about backup bread. We're talking about $2 million, $1 million, $2 million. I could potentially get behind that. But I would love to bring in young. This is why I wouldn't do it right now. Maybe in September, maybe in July, maybe in August, whatever. I would wait on Connor. Because if I go out and I get me a first-round guard, well, there's my guy for the future. So I'm not even looking at Connor to ever be potentially a starter, right? And then what if I get me a guy in the 5th round, 6th round, 7th round, or undrafted free agent guy, excuse me, undrafted free agent guy, or that comes in and pushes Connor McGovern for backup duties. I'm not tied to him then. And I don't think I've seen enough to be like, I want to give him a 3-4 year deal just yet. So I would wait. And if he looks way better than your starting left guard or way better than your backup, you could potentially revisit that. So we'll put a pin on Connor McGovern. Tony Pollard. We went into detail on TP yesterday. Went into extensive detail on Tony Pollard. This one's low-key is kind of tricky. Because y'all know how I feel about TP. I'm all for it. I'm all for re-signing Tony Pollard. Or extending, I'm sorry. Let me make sure I use my words right. Extending Tony Pollard. The problem is, where does he fall in that extension at running backs, right? And the other problem, maybe his biggest problem, is that he plays a position that young bucks can come in and eat. Like, I truly never really need to allocate any type of significant money to that position. That is not an exaggeration. Like, you have your outliers and guys like, I'll say Zeke. I mean, I'll go ahead and say Zeke. I'll say Derrick Henry. Even Dalvin Cook, you could be like, oh man, listen, he gets injured a lot. But there's a few outline. But then you run into the Todd Gurleys, you run into the Le'Veon Bells, right? The running backs that were the best backs in the league for 2, 3, 4 years, and then that's it. Usually that's how it rolls. I came up with the number. I said top backs are top backs for 3 years. The top back. 3 years maximum, and then somebody leaps them. So as much as I love TP, and I would love to get ahead of this thing, I wonder if the position he plays against him. That's why it's tricky to me. Because you could potentially be sitting with an entirely new running back room in 2023. Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott could be off this team. Tony Pollard because, well, obviously he's will be on his last year of a deal, and then Ezekiel Elliott, he could be cut. So tough one. I love TP, man, but I just think that the position, and then when you look at Stephen Jones, Catboy, will he really pay up? Will he? I don't know, man. And yeah, JP saying you don't extend running backs. That's the thing, right? Stephen White, no TP is seasoned and level up from walk on. You must be talking about somebody in the chat. Lauren says, I love TP so much, man. But if I'm his homeboy, I'm telling him to leave Dallas. This man can't trust that Dallas will effectively use him. That's a good point. The Cowboys have done TP a huge favor by keeping his legs fresh. Yeah, I mean, he was always right under Zeke. I don't think he was ever going. Look at this for a second. Tony Pollard has a total of 317 rushes in 3 seasons. A total. Zeke gets 317 rushes in 1 year. So, yeah, he's definitely fresh. Primetime Phil says, only keep him if you move from Zeke, but you still need another running back. Backs are a dime a dozen, but I'm not breaking the – so you all over the place with that Primetime Phil. You're not moving on from Zeke. That's not happening this year. Next year is a possibility, but next year Tony Pollard will be a free agent. So you got to figure this thing out before the end of the year. And again, it's not easy because of the position. And I don't want to be a hypocrite because I like Tony Pollard. I don't want to be a hypocrite and sit here and say, well, I would love to keep TP, but then speak on the other side of my other side of my mouth, talking about running backs coming into the league and being what they are, the Elijah Moores, the Taylors in Indianapolis and things like that. You can get a second, third, fourth round back, fifth round, sixth round back that can produce for you. If it was any position I really focus on traits with, it is that one. There's another one. Danny says, any back can run through a hole. People forget Murray had 1,800 plus with Dallas. TP is the future, says David. He would thrive with Sean Payton. That is something right there. If Sean Payton really wants to come to Dallas, if Sean Payton is low-key like, yeah, I'm going to play the TV role right now, but I'm coming to Dallas, he could go to Jerry and say, I want that kid. He can be my Alvin Kamara. That changed the conversation completely then. Changes the conversation completely. And then finally, the fourth and last guy left from the 2019 draft class, by the way, cornerback Michael Jackson. That's not a typo. Defensive end Joe Jackson. It's not a typo. Running back Mike Weber and defensive end Jalen Jelks were also drafted in 2019. None of those guys are with the Cowboys anymore. So Donovan Wilson is the last guy, and he is the 6th round pick from that draft class. Again, I'm a huge Donovan Wilson fan. But I also understand he gifted us something this year. Right? He gifted us something this year. Wilson, I truly believe this, and I will stand on it. I think Dono could have been J-Ron Curse-esque in the way he was used if he was a healthy guy and not an injured guy. But because of his injuries, he gifted us J-Ron Curse. But don't sleep on him potentially still being an extension guy. Don't sleep on it. I get it that he was hurt last year and things like that. But Dono got talent. He has talent. He's not some old dude either. And as it stands right now, he's your only safety left on the roster with experience. He's the last one. Malik Hooker, DeMonte KZ, J-Ron Curse, they're all free agents. And Curse is the high priority guy, and he should remain the high priority guy, right? But even if you do sign him, remember, Dallas uses a big nickel a lot. They use heavy big nickel. They prioritize a third safety. Quinn was big on this in 2021. He talked about it a lot. And then you saw it in how they, in their personnel packages. And let's not get it twisted. Like, Donovan Wilson can make plays out there. His best season was 2020 when they finally put him in the starting lineup for Darian Thompson. And he was just an animal making plays all over the field. He was actually putting up statistics from the safety position we hadn't seen in a long time. And he was de facto safety number one coming into the 2021 season. And then he got hurt week 1, and the rest is history with J-Ron Curse. Now, could he have been a green dot guy? I don't know, because I think J-Ron was more experienced. He's been on multiple teams. He was a veteran leader. I don't know that Donovan Wilson's a leader. I haven't seen that. So he wouldn't have been able to do that. But, I mean, 13 career starts over the last 2 years, 102 tackles, 3.5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, 2 picks, 4 pass breakups, most of that in 2020. But still, I've seen Donovan Wilson be a productive player. And I would look to try to get out front. This is the one. I'm iffy on TP because I understand the position, but he's one of the guys I would try to go after and get out in front of. Donovan Wilson. And here is a contract projection. Shout out to my guy, Professor O, a numbers guy. What do you call yourself again for the wire? What is your position? The scientist, the statistics scientist? And he really is a god dang on scientist, hence Professor O. We came up with some numbers, man. We were looking at Jeff Heath. Probably like, what? People hated Jeff Heath, and then I get it. I wasn't a fan of Jeff Heath, the starter, but I was a fan of Jeff Heath, the third safety. Heath signed a 4-year, $7.6 million extension in 2016 to stay with the Cowboys. Now, that is not a starter contract. It's really not. It's a third safety, huge role player guy that can be your starter when need be. Problem is, good old boy club down there continued to look at Jeff Heath as a starter, as our guy, and he kept rolling him out there and never really took the position serious. So Heath remained a starter for most of that contract, if not all of it, and the rest is history with Jeff Heath. I got nothing against the guy, but he was better to me as a role player. But his contract, 4 years, $7.6 million, would equate to now with the inflation, 4 years, about $10.4 million, and $3 million guaranteed roughly will be a contract projection for Dono. And you might say 4 years is a lot. Why would you allocate that much money? Well, when you look at it, 4 years, $10.4 million, it's really not a lot of money over that time period. You're talking about less than $3 million a year. For a position, mind you, that the Dallas Cowboys do not have a high success rate on hitting long term. And also, we know that they do not draft safeties. Right? They don't draft safeties high. Donovan Wilson was a 6th-round guy, and I think he's played above that talent-wise. Now, he could very much be a hurt guy, right, for the rest of his career. That's very possible. By the way, y'all, my bad, I forgot to put this number up here for those who don't know. 351-999-3787 if you want to give a call in and talk about potentially extending some of these guys. But Cowboys Nation, Donovan Wilson would be my second most important extension. Remember, extension is not a signing. A re-signing would be a Randy Gregory, Michael Gallup, LVE, Dorrance, those guys. An extension is a guy under contract right now that the Cowboys can get out in front of like they've done over the years. I would do it with Donovan Wilson. I would, because I don't trust this team to draft. I love safeties. I don't trust them to draft a guy in the top 3 rounds. I could argue in the top 5. The last time they drafted a guy above the 5th round was J.J. Wilcox, who was a converted running back to safety. So I don't trust him. So give me a guy that will stick around for the next 4 years that I can depend on to an extent. I get it, right? He gets hurt, but I can depend on this man to at least be a role player, at least be my 3rd guy, and they usually have a veteran like that. We don't even know what's going to happen with Jaron Kearse, so I would get out in front of him. Would y'all extend Donovan Wilson? You could argue it's tricky because he gets hurt, but I would. David said last year Wilson was a beast. Hell yeah. Austin says keep him. I'm good on Dono. I feel you, see. Like I feel you, but I definitely will resign. Will says Donovan Wilson can take the Kearse role if we can't bring Kearse back at a reasonable price. I told you, Will, I thought that he could have played just as well as Kearse this year. And that's no knock on J-Ron, bro. Like, it's really not. J-Ron's a really good dude, a really good player, leader, things like that. But I've seen it from Donovan Wilson. So I think he could have been really good under Dan Quinn as the starter long term. Captain America says, I have high hopes for Donovan Wilson. And Big Sar says he gets injured too much for big money. That's why 4-year, $10.4 million is not big money. I can't see him going into free agency next year, especially if you bring back a Kearse and getting a big deal. So you got to look at these situations kind of strategically. A little bit dirty. It's a little bit dirty. Barry Church talked about it, right? Like, they came to him when he tore his Achilles because they knew they could get him for cheap, right? Dallas can go to guys like a Donovan Wilson and say, hey, dog, listen, you can hit the open market after 2021, But you might not get nothing more than, $1 million or what have you, because your resume doesn't show that you are going to get starter money. Or you can take this 4-year deal. You got long-term security, and you're going to get your $10 million. You're a 6th-round pick. You'll be making more money than you ever made. And you have the potential to start here, a potential to elevate your resume. And if you do want to hit free agency after 3 or 4 years, somebody can come get you. Dallas Young, what's up, man? He says, I'd extend Dono for a good price. 4 years, $10.4 million. Would you do that? I think I would. Mel says, J-Ron's value goes beyond his play. That green dot. That's the thing. I wonder if Dallas is going to be negotiating against themselves with J-Ron Kearse. Kearse's numbers to everyone else in regards to contract might not be crazy. He might be middling safety numbers, which isn't if you look at the bottom, or sorry, after the top 10, it's not a lot of money at safety, but he could be looking in that 10 to 12 range. But because Dallas uses him the way they use him, he can say, yeah, they're going to offer me this, but I want this from y'all because I do more here. Primetime said, if a team came to me like that, I would walk. Like, oh, you mean like, well, they're not going to come to, they're not going to say that to them. Like, we're not talking literally. They're not going to come to Dono and say, you're only going to get $1 million out of it. They wouldn't do that. They got to, buff them up and make them feel good and things like that. But in the back of their head, they're like, dog, you ain't really going to go out there and get big money. But they can go to them and say, hey, here's your long-term security. 4 years, this is the most money you would have made. You have made. Here's your signing bonus, which is what, $3 million. We'd love to have you back. And then as soon as he signs in and go, he wasn't gonna get more than $2 million out there on the market. You know what I mean? That's what you do. You don't make the dudes sound. We're just talking right now, bro. But here's my number one most important free agent extension, and we briefly talked about this yesterday, but we're going to go into detail with one Terrence Steele. We brought Terrence up yesterday, and as I was talking, man, the things were just firing off in my head. I'm like, wait, I don't think I'm giving this enough attention, to myself at least. So I'm going to bring it to y'all's attention even more. Terrence Steele should be your top priority extension. And let me tell you why. He's a restricted free agent after this year, so technically you don't have to do it. But this is why you should. We've seen Terrence Steele, was only 24 years old, undrafted free agent out of Texas Tech, come in and play right away and looked bad. Now, he improved at the end of the year. That's fact. We saw him improve, but he still was not really a good tackle. And we came into 2021 thinking there's no way I'm counting on this man. But then I heard, I think it was Nick Eatman, sometime in the offseason said, there are folks in this building that believe Terrence Steele can develop into a starting right tackle. And that made me say, well, let me pause, because Nick's down there. It's my third cousin. Does he really? Okay, let's see. Preseason come around. I'm like, he got a long way to go. Let's go ahead and make him the fourth tackle, the third tackle, and continue to develop this guy. But he was thrust into the starting role immediately, and he looked night and day from preseason. He played himself into my opinion, a potential starting role at right tackle. Then he was moved to left tackle. Struggled a little bit, but got better at left tackle. And that equals 27 games as a starter in his first 2 seasons. He's 24 years old, undrafted out of Texas Tech, and he started 27 games in 2 seasons. That type of experience you can't just replicate. And experience at that age. Okay? And then not only does he have that experience, but he played so much better in his second year. So why would you go out and extend him right now? Well, because if you extend him, that extension actually falls in line with Tyron Smith's contract and Lyell's contracts if they decide to move on from either one, or if Tyron decides to retire after this year. Yesterday, I briefly talked about what you don't want to do if Tyron retires or you cut him, or if Lyell was not reliable. And then Terrence Steele's a free agent. You don't want to go into that offseason, your back's against the wall. You wouldn't have to do that if you extend Terence Steele. You have a potential right or left tackle. You can argue which one. Obviously, we know he's been a better right tackle, but again, I saw improvement at left as well. Maybe it's a conversation later, but Terence Steele could definitely settle in at right tackle. And if you look at the extension, this is our contract projection. 2 years, $9 million extension, $4.5 million average per year. That's nothing. Now, Stephen Weiss said 5 years, $40 million. No. That's bad business. You don't need to do that right now. You don't need to do that right now because he's a restricted free agent. So he doesn't need to get extended at all. But what you can go to him and say is, hey, listen, we love where you're at. We would like to keep you here a little bit longer and hopefully mold you in, not even mold you in, but prep you to become our guy. Right? He's making what? Less than $1 million this year? And he's a restricted free agent next year. So technically, he won't see unrestricted free agency until 24. So he's got 2 years left if they decide to use a restricted free agency tag. Or he can do what La'el Collins did. La'el signed a 2-year, $15.4 million deal with $9.5 million guaranteed. Now, La'el, and mind you, La'el started 14 games his first 2 years. He got hurt in that second season. Steele started 27. And I'm just talking about a $9 million extension. This could be even more. This could be upwards of 2 and 12 or what have you, which again, I still would do. But Terrence gives you so much protection behind two guys that you could argue are unreliable. Tyron Smith, going to be a hurt guy. We have no idea with La'el, man. La'el might roll out of bed and decide to do something stupid, and now he's suspended. Or he might just say, man, I don't feel like working out. And listen, I ain't trying to disrespect him, but that's kind of been his MO over the last 4 years. So Terrence, to me, becomes extremely important because you don't want to be stuck at the tackle position in a league that is deprived of consistent offensive line play across the league. Terrence still gives you that. So I would get out in front of the cheap one now. Tell Terrence, hey, listen, there's no guarantees you're going to even start, obviously, over these next 2 years. But we know at some point you're going to get in there. But by the time your contract runs out, you'll add more games to your resume, and then you'll be in line for a bigger deal. So if I'm Terrence, I'd definitely be looking for this. If I'm Dallas, I should say, I definitely would be coming to Terrence Steele and trying to get out in front of that contract. Definitely. Oh, my bad, y'all. This is what I wanted to show y'all was Terrence Steele. Still been getting better and better, says Dallas Young. He's going to be a stud. Yeah. Line is everything, Sky. We know, so get him cheaper and timing. Yeah, I think this would be great time to extend him. You have him for 3 more seasons under extremely cheap deal. Under an extremely cheap deal. And again, it falls in line with if Tyron decides to call it quits after this season. Falls in line if La'el Collins, you're ready to move on from La'el. So, absolutely. So, would you guys extend Terrence Steele? I think I've seen most of you guys say yes. Tom says Terrence Steele, RT2, tight end 1. Man. Restructure Zach and Dak, says Cooper. R says Kevin. Ronnie says Cowboy fans too often, not fans. This is actually the front office does this, but too often gas up players who have had an above average season. Are we talking about Terrence Steele here, Ronnie Everett? Because if we're talking about Terrence Steele, my man, if he's an above average right tackle, you pay that. We're talking about the offensive line in the NFL. You pay for 2 years, $10 million? Yeah, you pay an above average tackle that money. 100%. Got Titan fans up in the building. Salute to y'all. T-Mac says, Brandon, okay, let me see what y'all talking about in here. Okay, so some more, Ronnie. The Cowboys have to scheme to help Steele. He looked pretty good next to Zach, but was terrible next to Connor. What? Listen, yes, does that look like help right there, brother? I'm sitting here showing, this is just 2 games. Terrence got help early. Like, I get it. But let's not act like my man was just literally getting bodies and the line shifted towards him all year. That's not the case, man. Terrence still proved himself. It's okay to say that. It's okay to say, hey, man, you developed. You got better the more you played. You've earned my respect. Did they help him sometimes? Yeah, sure. But to pretend that they just schemed up everything to help Terrence Steele and he was getting all these chip blocks, and I'm showing you games against him going up against Danielle Hunter one-on-one. That's Danielle Hunter. That's not some lightweight. So Terrence Steele earned his measure, in my opinion. A 2-year, $10 million extension, that's easy money, brother. Easy money. Shout out to my guy Vach in the building. What we talking about, Vach? He says, I don't think Steele's agent takes that deal. Cam Irvin makes 12. He don't make 12 a year in Carolina, brother. You're exaggerating on that one. He got a 2-year, I believe, $12 million deal. Let me just make sure I got that right. Yeah, he signed for not even that. This is a Cam Irvin's deal. Now, if y'all get upset about this type of deal for Terrence Steele, I don't know what to tell you. He signed 2 years, $10 million with $8 million guaranteed. Come on, y'all. You mean to tell me you wouldn't love to have Terrence Steele as your utility tackle potential starter for 2 years, $5 million per? That ain't nothing in today's game. That ain't nothing, especially when we understand how bad offensive line play is across this league. Ronnie said, I'm showing highlights, brother. Listen, bro, I can literally pull all the all-22 for you, and I deliberately, trust me and Vach have done this, and go through the Terrence Steele stuff. Did he have games where he got beat? Yeah, so did Lyle. So did Zach. So did all these guys. But Terrence still developed into a guy that I could rely on. That's the point I'm trying to make. I'm not calling him a Pro Bowler. I'm not calling him one of the best right tackles. What I'm calling Terrence Steele is a guy I'm cool with giving a 2-year extension to for $10 million. A guy with 27 starts to his resume. A 24-year-old who I don't need to thrust to be a starter right now, but continue to develop. We saw a guy go from that year 1 jump to year 2. Can you imagine what he can do in year 3 and 4? I don't think this is that hard. I'm a little bit shocked that he's getting a bit of a pushback for something that minuscule. Cam Irvin's making $10 million a year. I'm sorry, not $10 million. $10 million over 2 years. We shaking in our boots for that kind of contract for Terrence? I don't know, man. And I'm not trying. Listen, y'all know me. I'm all for Lyle Collins being the guy. I'm all for that. But I also came to the conclusion, yeah, Steele's reliable, bro. If Steele beats out Lyle, I'm fine. I've seen him be able to be reliable at that position. Period. So, this ain't no just fly by night type thing, man. I was all for Lyle being the guy and still am for Lyle being the guy. But if he's not going to move to left guard, then that needs to be a legit competition. And may the best man win. If Lyle wins, great. Now you have a wonderful swing tackle in Terrence Steele. wonderful, that has 27 career starts and looked good doing it in 2021. Bailey says, I want smarter contracts, on-field incentives, please. I think that's a smart one. I just don't think he can block a Bosa, a Watts guy Lyle can. You know, that's funny that you say that because he actually did. Now, that was a game he did get help, and they schemed it, and obviously they should, right? First start of the year going up against Joey Bosa. But there are a lot of good reps of him handling Bosa, too. Now, there's reps of him losing. There's reps of that. But there's reps of him dealing with Bosa. There's reps of him dealing with the cat from the Patriots and other quality. And the Panthers had some rushers come at him. There's good tape. There's a lot of good tape on Terrence Steele. I didn't think this would be that crazy of a thing to say. I did. We got Nacho on the horn, 831. What's up, Nacho?
Hey, my man. How you doing? How you been?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you for, off season is obviously officially has been underway, and you've been just kind of keep afloat, with all the information, and thanks for listening to and hearing, and, what kind of off season moves, are up and coming, big decisions, our big star players, and, the salary cap and movement. I tell you what, I'm with you on this, Terrence Smith. When you
Terrence
have a
Steele.
young player Terrence Steele, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
When you have a young player like him that is a developmental player, a kid that came in and within a year, kind of really got it together, got in the weight room, and just looked a lot more stronger, this year, and really did a very solid job. I mean, I completely felt comfortable if we would have left him there at right tackle. I mean, the guy is a very, solid, guy that can go in there and do his job. And,
Yeah. Let me tell you something, Nacho. Let me tell you something. I bet you the Bengals would have loved to have Terrence Steele on the offensive line.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just saying.
I'm with you. I heard Brian brought his, and I tell you what, I loved it. I remember when Lyle Collins came in and, and he was playing that left guard position, man, he was a mauler. And if I think brought up the idea of like, hey, why don't we move Lyle left guard, and then kind of solidify the line and kind of get your best five out there, and Terrence out at right tackle. That's okay. So let's just say if we did something like that.
But see, I got to stop you right there because we can have the conversation of Lyle to guard, but I always say because it's so early right now. And they will have to make that decision. If they're going to do it, they got to make the decision now. Hey, Lyle, you're playing guard. That's that. Because then what that'll do is most likely 9 times out of 10 eliminate the guard position early in the draft. But the reason why I don't want to eliminate it, man, because if you get a Kenyon Green or a Zion Johnson in the first round, there is no moving Lyle Collins to guard. I'm not doing it. Because Zion and Kenyon Green are plug and play right now. Young guys, cheap contracts. Let's go. And then you have Steele and you have Collins compete for that right tackle spot. But it's really early and difficult to go ahead and project that just yet because of the draft. The draft has to happen first.
Absolutely. At this point, you're listening to the early names or, the early potential draft players that could be available at 24 or a potential trade up if we're, whatever's going to happen with Cooper and Lawrence and so forth. I tell you what, I'm really hoping that I think the way we ended the season, as you guys were alluding to and you were talking about the other day, yesterday as well. It's going to really come down to, Dallas just being very smart in terms of, I think from McCarthy all the way down to Kellen Moore, to Steven and everybody and the players. I'm a big Dak and Zeke fan. When these guys came on as rookies in 2016, they just had this swagger and this confidence and this alpha dog mentality. And obviously we've lost some of that, that fight, in us. And I'm hoping that I think everybody's on eggshells, this upcoming season. And obviously if things
Ain't
we're
nobody.
go through,
Who when you say everybody, who you mean?
I kind of feel like
you talking about the fans, or you talking about the front office? What are you talking about?
I'm talking about Coach McCarthy. I'm talking about Kellen Moore.
Oh, you're talking about the coaches.
Dak Prescott. I'm talking about Zeke. I'm just talking about all these players that, like the star players that need to kind of, show up, when the game is on the line, especially in the playoffs and this coaching.
Why are they on eggshells? That's what I'm trying to get at when you said the eggshell situation, because nobody should be on eggshells.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, Sky, I when we hired Mike McCarthy, myself as a fan, I gave him a 2-year window. Either you're going to show me something immediately right away, or you're not going to show me something. And the first year of McCarthy was a pandemic year. I get it, all that. But all the teams went through the same thing. And then the second year, we win 12 games, which is solid. But we were so unprepared, so undisciplined, and so inconsistent with the game plan, the preparation. Sure. And that is concerning. That is concerning to me. You know what I'm saying? Feel me?
Yeah, I feel you, man.
So, I don't know. I just kind of feel like this year, I think the fan base, I'd like to think that most of the fan base, and I'll speak for myself, I'm going to be pumped up and excited as I am every year. I'm a very passionate fan. But I'm not going to think whatever happens, whether we win the division or we don't, as long as we get into the playoffs, whether we're the number 1 seed or the last seed as a wild card, at the end of the day, what it's going to come down to for Dallas, what are you going to do in the playoffs?
Sure. That's a long way to go, man. We're in February of 2022, man. We ain't talking about playoffs right now. We got a long way to go. The Cowboys haven't made back-to-back playoff appearances since 06-07. So we going to try to stay in the now right now, brother. But appreciate you, Nacho. Let me get to the next caller, brother.
Yeah. Thank you. Have a good day, my man.
All right, man. Freight Train, what's up, man?
Hey, what's going on, man?
What's going on? How are you, man? Long time no speak.
It's Freight Train, yes, sir. I've been listening here or there, man. But what the guy just called, what I would do, I would already announce Terrence Steele as my right tackle, and Lyle Collins as my left guard, and still shop them regardless. So if the draft hits, let the chips fall where they may. My backup plan would actually be Terrence Collins. Collins. But I will still, if Kenyon Green is there, I'm getting him anyway, and I'm shopping him. I would shop
Collins,
and I would shop Connor Williams.
Time out, Freight Train. Connor Williams is free agent, so there's no Connor Williams right now. But let's play your scenario. Let's go ahead. Let's play your scenario. You got Green, who I think is a phenomenal player, can play tackle guard, right? And you got Lyle, and you got Steele. You wanna just trade Lyle, or are you trading him because maybe he's not happy or whatever? Because I'm not trading good linemen.
Well, the key is what's in your heart. So when he pulled that move last year by coming in overweight, when we really needed some help,
then why
you gonna pull that crap?
Then why announce him as your starting guard? Why not just get rid of him?
That was Jerry. Joe Phil, man, he already trusted Steele, he put him out there and say, man, hey, this dude is performing. But Jerry, he didn't want to have no $9 million sitting on the bench. My thing is, it's a privilege to get on the field and not a right.
Sure, yeah,
and
absolutely.
Personally, I would have left Steele at the right tackle position because we was mauling. Look what we was doing from game 2 on.
Listen. Go ahead.
He was sitting up there. He did his part. I told people, you got to go back and watch the film. A lot of people weren't watching the film. I'm looking at this dude. He's sitting up there handling business. I would have had Collins go over to left guard or play left tackle, make him sink or swim.
Yeah.
Because, see, personally, I'm making him left guard anyway. I'd have had him in at left guard. And like I say, right now, they trying to throw Joe Philbin up under the daggone bus. And he's done his part.
Yeah,
but
this ain't no – yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you 100. There we go. Let's get to the point. Let's get to the real root cause. And that's one of them, the scheme, the play calling, whatever. That's one of them of why this run game and offensive line started to derail. But this – I have to say this, and this ain't just you, Freight Train. I think it's really easy to say, Terrence Steele was at right tackle. We were great. Terrence Steele wasn't at right tackle. We weren't. That is so easy. And I'm not saying, I ain't calling you lazy or anything like that, but there's so many other variables, real quick, Freight Train, that came with the demise of the running game and the offensive line. And we got to stop just acting like it was because the right tackle. Because your right tackle was mauling people too. I got tape to show you that La'el Collins was moving human beings, as my guy Vach would say, in the run game. So your right tackle wasn't the problem. The problem was your left tackle got hurt. Your left guard situation in and out. Your number one running back kept banged up his knee, and your offensive coordinator refused to give the other guy the ball. And then your play calling completely changed. I mean, this is no joke. Go watch the first 6 weeks of the season. There are plays in the run game they refuse to continue to run later on. So this is my final piece on the whole situation. There's so many more variables that come to why the running game and the offensive line failed down the stretch, and it ain't because you're right tackle. I digress.
I understand, but I'm gonna do I normally don't do this, but I'm gonna do the Dollar Tree Steven thing. Is you got this man for $680,000? Terrence Steele, hey, I'm gonna look at the two, but personally, everybody talking about who needs this. Man, I'm making Tony Pollard a slot receiver. I'm sorry, I need him on the field.
What did you watch the show yesterday? Go run the show back.
I did not.
Yeah, run the show back yesterday. We talked about him playing like a Debo role where he plays some receiver and running back.
Hands down, brother. Yeah. 60 to 70% of the time, this dude could be on the field. And then you can still that right there opens up so much. That's gonna open up everything. Because they playing two high safeties, all this other stuff. When they begging us to run, man. See, you put him on the field, you don't know what he's. Man, I personally wish we'd do that. I will go back and watch go back and watch what you said. But I told a couple of partners at the barbershop, man. I said, look, man, because you know I'm a Debo guy. I'm at University of South Carolina, man.
South Carolina,
that's where I graduated from. And I'm looking at this dude. I'm like, Tony Pollard could be. It is our Debo. They talking about, well, who can we get in the draft? Man, we got these jokers already on the team.
Facts.
But we got Kellen No More.
Kellen No More. No, you're right, man. You got phenomenal playmakers that the game plan wasn't schemed to them. It was just this is the scheme, and that's a mistake in the playoffs. Because if you go look at a lot of the playoff teams that were in the Final Four, Bengals, Rams, Niners, Chiefs, they weren't out there just scheming. They were like Tyreek Hill. Kelsey, you getting the rock. Chase, you getting the rock. Mixon, you getting the rock. Kittle, Debo, you getting the rock. Cup, you getting the rock. Odell, you getting the rock. There wasn't no, we're going to take what the defense gives us. There wasn't none of that.
Players over team. Good players over the scheme. I mean, we all play Pop Warner football, this and that. You knew that one dude out there on the field, and the coach gonna say he gonna keep giving him the ball until y'all can stop him.
Listen, man, I played against a couple of them dudes, bro. I'd be like, it's annoying as hell. They got 40 carries in the game. Stop giving this big old 14-year-old playing a 13-year-old league the damn ball. Yeah, we've been there. Ain't nothing changes. We make the game more difficult than it needs to be.
He ain't 14. He's 26 with 2 kids and got a mortgage. Y'all think he's 14. But I'm going to let you go. But I'm going to go back and watch it. But my thing is, we have the pieces. My thing is, I'm going to do a partial all in like what the Rams just did. It is what it is. Then if you want to blow it up after this year, fine. Yeah. Let's go make a run. Yeah. And see, that run, it'll take us 2 or 3 years. Like the Rams right now, people laugh at what they did. They can ride this for the next several years and be like, hey, it is what it is. Because, see, the Florida Marlins, in baseball, they used to do it all the time. Go win the World Series, then they blow it up. Go win the World Series, then they go blow it up. But, you know, we good, man. But my thing is, everybody stay focused and go do your own film study. We got this. They know what's going to come. They know it's coming. Yep. Trust me, the league know what's coming. And the best thing to happen for us is for the Rams to win the Super Bowl. Now we can sit back, okay, now, all right. See, a lot of people don't know this right now. All right, what's next?
You would think that, you know. I was rooting for the Rams because I love their approach. I mean, this is on record for the last couple of years. I love their aggressive approach. I'm all about that. But Steven is Steven. I don't see it changing. Even though the way there's many ways to skin the cat, and they're all in front of his face, and he refuses to even find a damn thing. Appreciate you.
Well, we're gonna win in spite of. We're gonna spin inside of him. I'm gone, man, but we're gonna win in spite of Steven and Jerry.
I hope so. My man. Appreciate the Freight Train.
Yep.
Always love Freight Train's energy and insight, man. Always. Yeah. So Ronnie said, let me find the question, Ronnie. It's way up in the chat, but you asked if Tyler Lindenbaum falls to the second round. Is that something that the Cowboys could look at? I have a hard time believing that, but Vach is in the chat, I believe. Vach, Foots, those guys. Jeff, that's what you got to ask if he's going to fall beyond the first round. Centers usually don't get taken early, and you said because he's undersized. Jason Kelce is undersized. A couple other guys, you know, if they could go back and redraft, he probably goes in round 1. But he's good, man. He's really damn good. I can't see it. I can't see him falling to no 56 or even in trade up range, but Vach could tell you, Foots and them could tell you. I just my casual draft guy can't see it. Vach says no, he says not happening. Yeah, I don't see it. Professor O says, God love when people tell Scott to go back and watch the film like he did. Well, listen, I'm not sitting here saying I watch everyone, but appreciate you, Professor O. But yeah, when it comes to the Steele stuff and the Lyle stuff, I promise y'all ad nauseum. Ask Vach. I mean, I'm literally sending clips to him because I'm not the O-line guru, right? I don't act like I know everything, but I said this before and I will give my bro his flowers. He's the reason why I actually love watching O-line tape. I did not realize how much fun it is. In fact, it's more fun than watching some of these other skill positions because nothing ever happens on some of these plays, whereas in O-line, it's something every single time. So I enjoy watching, and I don't mind sending it to him because I know he'll watch. So, I mean, all year I'm sending stuff like, hey, man, Terrence Steele's getting beat right here. Terrence Steele was holding up. Here go Lyell's stuff, right? I know Lyell didn't have a great game, but Lyell was looking good in these situations. So all year we were doing that. So, yeah, I've exhausted that tape. So when you say it was just highlights with Steele, I promise you, yes, those are the better plays, but I promise you, bro, Terrence still played very well this year. And you should be happy to have him, and I would totally extend him for that amount. Easy. Ronnie said player, and that's another good one too. Players fall all the time. That is very true. Teams can't draft, as Vach and Jeff like to say. So that's true. He could absolutely fall. There's no doubt about it. I don't know, man. I'm listening to a lot of the top draft people, and it just seems like Linderbaum is a guy that teams aren't going to want to pass on. Right? We got DJ on the horn. What's up, DJ?
What's going on, Scott? How you doing today, brother?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Oh, keep waking up in the morning. I hadn't talked to you in a minute, so I thought I'd catch up with you this morning because I had some time. Man, I don't mind Terrence Steele at all. I know that's the topic of conversation this morning.
Sure.
But at the same time, what I'm looking at is, I don't like looking at the players' pockets, and I don't like that argument as in general. But when it comes down to is, for instance, are you signing Steele to an extension, or are you re-signing Gregory if you have to use that? You have one pot of money and you have to pull that. You have to give one to the one or the other.
See, this is why I do what I do. This is why I sign him to this extension now and not wait, because this extension, I'm gonna show it here on the screen. You can't see it, but $4.5 million annual per year. That shouldn't deter you from signing Randy Gregory, especially if you can make the money jump. If you do a 2-year, $9-10 million deal, you can make his first year cap hit very small. It's already small, but you can make it smaller. So I don't think an extension like this should deter you from signing a Randy Gregory if you want to. And as we know, DJ, they can make this money dance, move, and do all types of crazy things. They can open up upwards of $50 to $60 million on the cap. So Steven may try to say, well, we just extended Terrence Steele to $4 million, so we don't got enough pie. Steven might try to fool you, but don't buy into that.
Fair. Now, for the obvious ones, right? Because you're gonna keep Randy. Like that's one of the main things. They've even said it. Now, it was only once, but what I'm looking at is when it comes down to Steele and J-Ron Curse, or somebody like that, or Steele, and even like Cedric Wilson, that one's closer, right? I'll probably choose Steele in that case.
Yeah.
Right, I'm choosing Steele in that case, but those are the conversations that I think about in my mind. And my thing, too, is, like you were saying earlier, like if we get a Kenyon Green or a Zion Williamson or even, some other offensive lineman that shows out and shows that he deserves to be. I'm
guessing you mean Zion Johnson, but Zion Williams is big as hell. He can come in and play left guard.
Hey, Zion Williams, my bad. Yeah, Zion Johnson.
Hey, listen,
Zion Johnson.
They said Zion Williams to put on a couple pounds, so he can come in here and play left tackle if he needs to. Sure.
Hey, we know his feet are good, man. Just make sure you got the right shoes on, that way you don't blow him out.
He might need
but Zion. But that's an interesting conversation, right? Because now you have Lyle Collins, you have Terrence Steele, and then you have, let's say, just throw Kenyon Green in there. Well, Kenyon Green has shown the ability to play all five spots on the offensive line. So what happens now?
What happens now is, DJ, you sit back and you have this beautiful grin on your face. You have quality depth in a league where quality depth does not ring loud. So, if you keep Terrence and you keep Lyle and you draft a Zion Green, oh my gosh. You're good. You're sitting pretty. So there should be no one upset for that.
Oh, not upset. Not upset at all. It's just one of those things where you're like, well, we got to get rid of somebody. I mean, you don't. That's actually my whole point on all this, is that you don't have to. You just live with the depth. You live with the stability of having the one of the better drafting organizations in the league, and you have that ability to just look and pick and choose. Now, once you go with somebody, go with them, right? I didn't like the whole back and forth and musical chairs that they were playing with the offensive line this year.
Yeah.
Like, just choose a set, choose your best guys and stick with them. But to have those guys just in case somebody goes down, there's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to. It's not them, one guy versus the other guys. Right. Those guys working as a unit together, and it's really, really, really prominent for Cowboys fans in general to like fit this. We got to get rid of Amari Cooper and abstract wide receiver from North Carolina State. He just came in and he had that one big catch in training camp, so let's go with him. No, just sit with your guys. Trust the coaches at this point, the ones that are actually doing stuff, because we can make an argument on what Mike McCarthy and Kellen Moore are doing, but trust the coaches that are doing stuff and putting the product out on the field and having these guys perform.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay to question. I mean, and that's what we're going to do here. That's what our platform is for sometimes, question until we can get some right answers. But one thing for sure, two things for certain, is that you're going to need depth on the offensive line. We know that because it is 100%. At this point, death, taxes, and Tyron Smith missing 3 games minimum. That's happening. Right? Like that's happening. So, and that kind of plays into this Lyle Collins to guard thing too, right? And I said this, if that's a move you're going to make, A, you got to do it sooner than later. And then B, you need to have a plan as swing tackle. They've done it over the years. The Tyden Sekis, the Cam Irvings, the Cam Flemings, they've went out and signed swing tackle, journeyman swing tackle. So they could technically do that. But If they don't, then Terrence Steele is a really good quality swing tackle with the potential to be your right tackle replacement over the years. And I understand you can say, you know, Terrence Steele is not a quality right tackle or whatever, but I would say if he doesn't have to be your starter this year and he comes in 5-6 games, that's even more experience. That's another year of getting better. And then by the time, you know, he ends that contract, I'm pretty sure he's going to be a quality starting right tackle. So I think you got a good one in town, and you don't have to rush anything. You don't have to force anything with him. You don't got to force anything with Lyle. You're sitting in a good position right now. Let the chips fall as they may.
Fair. Well, I appreciate you, bro. I'm going to get out your hair. I just wanted to get in because I ain't talked to you in a minute. I appreciate you, man. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks, bro.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you, DJ. Yeah, I think while this position needs to be addressed, there's two different conversations, right? There's the conversation of we definitely need to retool the offensive line. Retool it is tough. Revamp it, add to it, whatever. However, it's not like the Cowboys are in this dire situation that we put ourselves in at the end of the season as fans, because like I said before, it's like family, right? I could talk shit about, or I can fight my family, or I could fight my brother. We could bang, bang, bang. But when somebody else tries to, then yeah, you know, I'm going to say some things. If another fan base tries to say the offensive line sucks, I tell you, no, it doesn't. The offensive line doesn't suck, guys. We're upset with them because we didn't go anywhere, the musical chairs, the injuries, things like that. But the offensive line does not suck. I think you're still in a good position, but you won't be if you stay still. No pun intended. If you sit at where you are now and you do nothing in free agency, you do nothing in the draft, yeah, there's some concern. But if you come out of the draft and you get a guy like Green, you get a guy like Zion, whatever, and then you go in free agency, you say, well, I'm going to add more depth. I'm going to grab another Titan Secchi type, or I'm going to grab y'all remember Kyle Kozier? I'm going to go grab a Kyle Kozier type. Let's get to camp. Got all these bodies, most of them quality bodies, young guys, veteran guys, and let's sift this thing through. We're going to roll with 9-10 dudes coming into the season. These are our guys. We got depth. We understand how important it is. But if you don't do that, then yeah, I would go into the season very worried if you're just going into the year with Connor McGovern as your only real depth. So it looks like you guys are. See, I disagree, Glenn. You guys are in here talking about Tyler Linderbaum. I need to get my guy on Vosh going so he can talk about Tyler Linderbaum. He says he likes Kenyon Green more than Linderbaum. See, Zion's my favorite, but not by much. Green is right there. He was the second guard I looked at. I would love to have Green. His versatility is great, but Zion has that versatility too. He showed, I think, at the Senior Bowl with the center position. So any of those two guys I'm good on. I told you, I'm not really like the center position for me. I think that Biotish got a little better. First year starting, right? His first full year really starting. He's going into his third season. So I think he'll see another jump. So I'm not really pressed at center as much as I am at left guard right now, or at the potential of having a tackle problem if Tyron goes down and you move my man over to left guard. So if Linderbaum's brought in, cool, right? But if it's Linderbaum and it's Green and Zion on the board, I'm taking the other two before him because I literally don't have a left guard, right? Literally, I don't. I can move Lyle there, but as we speak, I don't have a left guard. As we speak, I have a center who is serviceable enough. I understand Cowboys Nation wants 5 Pro Bowlers across the board. We got to look around the league, man. We got to look around the league. Your offensive line is not. This is what's sad. Your offensive line was good enough to be playing in February. Yep. Good enough to be playing in February. You need to help out your unit sometimes. I brought this up how many times during the year, Cowboys Nation? All right, cool. We're having some trouble, some difficulties at the left guard spot. We're having some difficulties with this in and out, snip, snap with the left tackle spot with Tyron Smith. How can I help them? Let's move the pocket. Let's add some play action, which we did not do at a high rate. Let's put a little RPO in this thing. Let's get a little read option going on. Some pre-snap motion things. The Rams' offensive line is not spectacular. They're not the Great Wall. We know what the Bengals' offensive line is. So, if we can remove ourselves from Dallas and we look at the landscape of the league, and I know PFF rated us number 1. I'm not saying all that. What I'm saying is that you have a good enough, or you had, I should say, a good enough line. You had good enough depth in 2021 to be playing beyond the first game of the playoffs. You did. You did. DJ says Zion fits the need better for sure, but no, he is not better. I think you guys are talking about Zion and Linderbaum. Here's a good thing. I think you're going to have a shot at somebody at 24 if you want to go O-line. Is it Pennig if you want to go tackle? Zion, Green, Linderbaum. I can't see all 4 of those dudes going before you. Possibly, right? Possibly. But I think at 24, regardless, you're going to have a shot at a quality O-lineman or a quality defensive lineman or linebacker. Like, there's not too many drafts. I'm like, damn, we at 24. Or we at 24, and I'm like, man, I feel great. There's not too many drafts like that, but this year, for whatever reason, I'm good. I can sit back. I'm straight. I think you can get a guy at 24 that everybody will be okay with, unless they go full blown taco goddamn charlatan on us, and then I'll be pissed off because you know what? I felt that way at 27. I ain't gonna lie to you. Damn it, just reminded myself. I felt that way at 27 in 2017. I said, man, Bowser, Watt, I feel good about one of these guys. And then Watt fell, and that was it for me. I said, never again will I fall in love with none of these players. Got my heart ripped out. Got my boy. What's up, Vach? On the horn, the Vach Lombardi. What's up, brother?
Man, I just love it when we can just learn together, man.
Right.
You know what I mean? You just get me to the front of the line, you know what I mean? That's a big improvement from what we used to be, man. So I just want to say I see your growth, man. You're doing fantastic, man. I'm proud of you, you know what I mean?
I feel, listen, this is my young OG. Y'all don't realize it, but I'm much older than Vach. But he a OG. He got the Southern slang, the Southern mentality. So he's still my young OG, if that makes sense.
God bless, man. But listen, man, you know, we were just in the chat box, you know what I'm saying, talking about offensive line, and I just wanted to call in and just give a couple of cents. I'm not gonna give too much away because I assume that you would want to parlay this into a show at some point.
Absolutely.
So I ain't gonna do too much. But you know, I was watching Rashawn Slater last year. And mind you, this show that you're having today would be a whole different conversation if we had Rashawn Slater, but whatever. I was watching Rashawn Slater last year, right?
By the way, but I'm gonna let you go.
I love Michael, man, but all right, cool, whatever. But I was watching Rashawn Slater last year, watching his college film, and he just made me do Harlem Shakes. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You ever just watch a player you like, you just in your chair doing Harlem Shakes, like, man, if I can get that dude, you know what I mean? I'm not trying to make it sound a certain way. This don't sound how you think it's sounding when I say this, but when I watch Kenyon Green, I get Harlem Shakes.
Hey.
You know what I mean? I'm not saying that Kenyon Green is a Rashawn Slater type character, because there could be levels of Harlem Shakes. You can jump out the damn chair and Harlem Shake. You know what I mean?
You grab your foot. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I do small little Harlem Shakes as I'm watching Kenyon Green. Green. So I just don't want Cowboy fans to do, and you just alluded to this 20 seconds ago. I don't want us to get so caught up in the Linderbaum gonna be there, we gotta have him. I don't want us to get in that whole conversation, because players with hype generally get taken earlier. Now centers do get taken later, but if the league talks about a guy enough, you can pretty much get the feel that they're gonna be gone. Linderbaum's probably going to be one of those guys. But I love what you said when you said you don't really feel like we have a super center problem. We got a super left guard problem. What I always ask folks to do because people often talk about Tyler Biadasz as if he's some Chaz Green type character, and I think that's a bit, you know,
it's a stretch, man.
I think that's inappropriate. That's fucking inappropriate. Relax. He's not that guy. But what I ask people to do is like try to name me the top 5 centers in the league, and by the time people get to like 3, like they run out of centers. Like center is bad across the league. So you know, I understand that we coming from Trav or whatever, and we feel like okay, well we need a center to be that. But centers ain't even that in the league. So what you get with Tyler is you pretty much got what everybody else got. Am I opposed to improving Tyler? If you get a Linderbaum, will he come in and play over Tyler? Sure, but I think that'll be drafting a redundancy. Yeah. You know what I mean? When you can get this Kenyon Green fella, and Kenyon Green, you know, just if you watch film on the Texas A&M film, you know, he's a fantastic help guy. You know what I mean? He's a Molly help guy. So if Tyler Biadasz needs some help, Kenyon Green is the dude to move people from point A to point B. Go ahead,
You said Kenyon Green help. There was a clip against LSU, and he helped. I think you might know what I'm talking about. He helped somebody. He put that man, planted him in the ground. He didn't hump him like the one dude, but then he fell on top of him like he owned him. Like Kenyon Green is nasty, dog.
So okay. So watch this. Was it the 2021 LSU clip, or was it the
I think it was
2019
or I think it was an earlier one. I don't think it was this one that just came.
Okay. So in his 2019 clip, he was at right guard, and it was versus like Tyler Shelvin or something. You know what I mean? Like he's a fantastic help dude in that way. And you know, since I just mentioned it or whatever, this the other little cool thing about Kenyon Green: left guard, play some right guard, play right tackle, and I think his best film was versus Alabama where he played at left tackle. Now, I think Zion Johnson is the better sometimes left tackle guy, but I think Kenyon Green is the better overall player. You know what I mean? So since we just talking O-line real quick, that's just my thoughts. And I do think Kenyon Green is better than Linderbaum, but I think Linderbaum's a little better than Zion. Just my thoughts.
No, I respect your thoughts, man. Like I said, we got to get a full-blown show on here so that you can, you know, show everybody about Kenyon Green. I'm trying to bring up this tape right now, Kenyon Green, so just bear with me, brother. Just bear with me. What's your thoughts on Zion? We've been talking a lot of Green and a lot of Linderbaum, but I really liked what I saw from Zion too, man. Dude, he reminds me of Tyron when it comes to the clamps. I feel like, you know, once he clamp you, it's a wrap.
Yeah, man, Zion. See, what he's really good at like maintaining his feet. You know what I mean? So like, if you grab onto him, I don't think he's the naturally powerful guy that Kenyon Green is. Like when Kenyon Green grabs you, his grip may not be the same, but you still go for a walk because he's strong as hell. I don't think Zion is naturally that strong, but once he grabs you, it's all about keeping his feet moving at that point, and his feet don't stop moving. So he's like super technique guy in that way. You know, but if you're a Cowboy fan, you kind of got to ask yourself, because I know a lot of people gonna be sick of the guard that ain't super powerful or whatever. You know what I mean? But if you're running one of them zone schemes, if you need a dude that can play tackle for you in a pinch, I think Zion's that guy. You know what I mean? Zion's definitely the better athlete of the two. I don't particularly like him at center. They tried it at the Senior Bowl. It showed some versatility. You know, we ain't talking about a pinch, but if it's like a closed fist punch type situation, maybe you can put him at center. You know what I'm saying? You know, but I'm trying to leave him at guard and let him play tackle sometimes. I just want my centers to be a little more just a little more powerful. You know what I'm saying? Some people like their centers to be, you know, the weakest guy on the line because they're help guy. You know what I mean? I just don't prefer my centers in that way. And I don't think he handles power very well off the snap. But he handles power really well from the guard position. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just different mechanics or what. So,
I've been following your offensive line evaluations this offseason, and I think the word of 2022 for you is explode. And I'm sitting here showing, I don't know if you got it up on your phone, I'm sitting here showing Kenyon Green, and I just keep thinking about explode. I feel like he one of those explode dudes.
He explode, like when he hits people, they like people's arms, they do cartoonish flails as they go backwards. They do cartoon, like, bro, that dude makes me so excited, bro. And I know analytic people are just gonna overthink guard, and they're gonna overthink position value and shit.
Man,
and a lot of these guys gonna be. Totally agree. But that's the good thing about drafting at 24. When you're at 24, you can draft whoever you want. You know what I mean? If we stuck at 5 and like a Kayvon Thibodeau's on the board or something, you just got to draft Kayvon Thibodeau because that's how life works. You know what I mean? If you're at 24, you can take whoever the hell you want. You know what I'm saying? The board kind of opens up a little bit. So I think that, we have an opportunity to take a guard if he's there, a center, a linebacker, maybe a defensive tackle, position that you wouldn't take top 5, top 10, but we sitting at 24, we can take who the hell we want. You know?
You throw that position value crap out, in my opinion, out the window at 24, because you're likely getting what draft pundits say are second round graded players any damn way.
Yeah, and and it just sucks that people look at guard and D tackle in that way, but so like Jordan Davis or whatever, right? Jordan Davis is a one tech nose guy, defensive tackle, not gonna do very much for you in the pass rush game, so he might fall. But if that son of a bitch is your one tech in the run game, like Micah Parsons becomes the best linebacker of all time. You see what I'm saying? So sometimes you got to draft for what's best for your team opposed to what's making sense on the board sometimes. Because that motherfucker not going to make it to 60 or 54 or wherever the hell we drafting or whatever. So if you see a motherfucker like Jordan Davis and the rest of your board, like if he's the best guy on your board, you got to throw out that run game, D tackle, can't pass rush stuff. Just do what's best for your team,
Man, absolutely. I'm about to bring up Jordan Davis now. You did a breakdown on Jordan Davis, too. Make sure I go check out Voch's. His is very detailed, so check his. As a matter of fact, tell them where they can plug in your Patreon too, so they know where to go if they don't.
Hey, man, patreon.com/Voch Lombardi. I know some of you are cool with the highlights. We do that on the YouTube, 5 or so plays. But, for those super draft fans that want the nuance, like I said, Kenyon Green. We watched 5 games on Kenyon Green, the whole damn thing, all 22, rooted to the tutor. Patreon.com/Voch Lombardi. Go over there, give whatever you want to give. You got access to all the goodness, you dig?
Boy, listen, bro, I don't give a damn about no position value. I'm watching Jordan Davis. Give me that man. You put that man
smoking the shit out of everybody, ain't it?
You put that man in front of it. Come on, dog. Stop playing with
smoking
me.
the shit out of everybody. Yo, listen, man, I'm not going to hold your phone lines up, man. I appreciate you for letting me call in and just ramble a little bit. Roundtable Wednesday.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And since me and you friends, I just got to, call you, after this because I got to talk to you about something since we friends in real life.
All right, bro.
Peace, man.
Get with me, man. Appreciate you, Voch. That is one Voch Lombardi. Y'all know who he is. Find him at Voch Lombardi on the YouTube, on Twitter, on all those good things. And like he said, Patreon. But yeah, Wednesday, tomorrow, we got the roundtable. Voch, myself, Law, Foots, and Okoye, we getting together, talking about everything. It's not going to just be Dallas Cowboys. It will most likely be draft talk as well, maybe some NFL stuff, but y'all know how we do. We get together and we just go, man. It's always fire when I get together with those guys. So I'm pretty excited because it's been a while. I ain't gonna hold you. I kind of nixed the, and he probably gonna laugh about this. I kind of nixed the previous roundtable before the Niners game because I'm superstitious. I'm a little stitious. I ain't gonna lie to you. We were 0-2, man. 0-2. Doing a roundtable before the big games. We did it before, I think, the Cardinals. Did it before the, who else? Oh, Chiefs. And I was like, man, listen, dog. We get on here. We do it before the big games. We say all this stuff. And then they go out there. So I said, let's just do it after. Well, it never wasn't after. Didn't matter. Cowboys came out, looked like trash anyway. So there is a lot to talk about. We have not all gotten together individually. We've gotten together, but not all together on the screen in front of y'all to kind of talk about the end of the season, off season, and then the draft. So we'll do that tomorrow, like 9 Central, 10 Eastern. So make sure y'all check that out on all those guys' channels. Cowboy D says, what's good, Skywalker? What's up, Cowboy D? Bailey says, Foots is for real. Yes, he is, man. Foots, Voch, they go in on this draft stuff. Law, too. JC, Jeff Kavanaugh, who will be doing more stuff, and also I'll just say this about JC. Keep your ears and eyes open. You may see more of him as well with Skywalker. So make sure y'all tune in for that. Keep your ears and eyes. LaShawn McCall says Jordan ain't making it to 24. Now that, honestly, I could see him making it to 24. if teams go into this thing with the whole draft value, positional value, things like that. I said throw that crap out with Micah last year. I get it with Jordan because Jordan is technically a 2-down dude. He's not going to play 70% of the snaps. But you have Osa, you've got Neville in the tuck, and you got Tristan for at least another year, but you got Osa and Neville for a couple years. So I think you're good at 3-tech, and especially with Osa. You pair him with a guy like that dude. At that, I'm with you. Whoever it was, LaShawn, I'm with you. I would take him if I'm the Cowboys. I would take him wherever the hell I need to take him because I think he fits where we need him to. Some other teams may look at it that way. And if you're not a Jordan Davis fan in round 1, there's also Travis Jones from UConn, who I'm also a fan of in round 2. Outside of that, you can go the Bohanna route again, get you another big dude later in the rounds. But I feel like Davis as a 1-tech, as a mountain, 6'6", 3'4". I mean, goodness gracious. You don't find that. That doesn't roll out of bed and do what he does. Travis Jones, another strong dude. I think Jordan's better, but he's a consolation prize I would love. But there aren't too many, I think. And if I don't get it round 1 or round 2, I probably don't prioritize it till day 3. Unfortunately. All right, man, this has been an awesome show. We got a surprise calling from our guy Vosh Lombardi. Call's been great. Chat's been lit. You guys are always on fire. I appreciate y'all for coming through. Again, tomorrow, we'll be back here about 8:15-ish, finishing off the week, well, midweek, I should say, of the show. Maybe we'll revisit some of these things, maybe not, but I thought this was a good conversation to have because it's only February. They don't normally do these extensions this early, but I wanted to get out in front of this thing just in case because I do think there's a couple candidates, Dono and Steele being the top 2. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but if it does happen, it shouldn't be a surprise because if we go look at the list over the last number of years, they've done this. They've done this. This isn't something that they have not done, and especially when it comes to undrafted guys. Lyell, Berry, and Cole Beasley were all undrafted. Orlando was a 5th-round guy. Dono was a 6th-round guy. Both had starting experience, so I could see it happening. And neither of those contracts that we showed should affect bringing back Hurst, should affect bringing back Randy Gregory, Schultz if you want to bring back Schultz, Gallup, any of those dudes. So just keep that in the back of your minds as we move forward here. As the window for franchise tag opens up, teams' monies will start to, I don't want to say work itself out because you have all the way to July. But we'll know who's available, who's not. I'm going to be real with you. If you fail to bring back J-Ron, and I know, we don't do this safety thing, but there is a lot of safeties in this draft, and not this draft class, in this free agent class. If they don't get franchised, I'm coming after them. That could be my fandom talking because Dallas doesn't spend money at the free agency position or safety position in free agency. But damn it, I'm not going into this year with just Donovan Wilson and Israel Mukuamu and a draft pick in the 5th, 6th round. So they're going to have to do something in free agency, whether it's bring back J-Ron or bring in another guy who is just as good. So we'll get into all that. But all right, Cowboys Nation, y'all have been phenomenal. Make sure y'all check out A2ZSportsDallas.com for all the articles, latest articles. Evan, my guy Matt, shout out to Matt Lennox. If you guys don't know who Matt is on Twitter, I believe it's Star Conscience. He is working his ass off. He just started with A to Z last week, and he's putting out phenomenal content. We're going to have him on the show periodically, too. I got to talk to him. We're going to incorporate something, I think, during this season. Maybe we'll do it in the offseason where I'm going to try to have those who can under A to Z on the show more often as kind of correspondents, per se, so they can give the breaking news or draft analysts, things like that. So stay tuned, man. We got some big things brewing for the channel, man. Big things. Appreciate you guys, man. Run it back if you haven't. If you missed the show, we'll drop the audio on Spotify, Google, Apple, all that good stuff. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't hit that subscribe button. Like this thing, share it, all that good stuff. All that good stuff. And then check out my guy, Mauricio Rodriguez, later tonight. A to Z Sports Prime Time. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all Tuesday. We out of here. Peace. Shout out to the Mod Gods, Stevie Mac, Professor O.
I want me some glory hole.